Hey, how's everyone doing? So today is going to be skill training day here in Eastern Kentucky. It is very cold, at least as cold, like we're used to it being for being part of the South. Um, we're still Northern Hemisphere. Um, we're not quite as far north as, say, like Canada or Alaska, places like that. But typically during this time of year, it gets pretty cold, and today was definitely one of those days that, it put my previous days where I thought it was cold, when I made a video. And some of my previous videos, it put those to shame. It was about 14 degrees Fahrenheit, or about negative 10 degrees Celsius. On top of that, it was windy. It's very sunny, and it looks like it's not that cold outside, but I promise you it is very, very cold. I had two shirts on. I had the face shield. I had a beanie. I had some pretty thick sweatpants, and it's still quite a challenge to stay warm. I'm doing some hops there, trying to warm up a bit. Anyways, today was skill practice day. Not hitting any working sets. I'm not really trying to fatigue my muscles. Not really trying to cause muscle breakdown. More so just trying to practice the calisthenics skills that are so cool to be able to do, so fun to be able to do. With the idea of trying to get better at them. It's a day where I can really focus those things. And, despite it being so cold, I decided I'd go outside and try that. So here I'm hitting my 6-rep warm up, trying to keep my arm close to me, the arm that's not, actively doing something. I'm trying to keep my body heat, as good as it can be. Trying to keep my hands thawed out. That's what I'm getting at. The wind was about to freeze my little fingers, and it kind of made me wish I had some gloves. But I tried wearing like the workout gloves before, and I didn't really like those. I feel like you can't really hang on with them. You can't really get a good grip the way you can if you just use your hand, or if you put some chalk on your hands. I really like chalk. Really like to use chalk. I've only recently, within the past few months, I've started trying grip tape. You'll notice on some of my bars I have grip tape, and I actually really like the grip tape. I feel like it is kind of the clean alternative to chalk. The chalk is very messy, but I'm still, I would kind of argue, I feel like you get just a tiny bit better of a grip when you use the chalk than you do versus the grip tape. But I don't think there's a huge, huge difference. It's not going to be one of those things that makes or breaks your training. Though I would argue that wearing the fitness gloves or the workout gloves does kind of break your training. I feel like you just can't hang on, especially if you're trying to do something one arm. I feel like you just can't hang on with those. They want to slide. And, if you don't have a good grip, then that's really like the foundation of any kind of one-arm exercise, even if you're just hanging. If you can't have a good grip with those, I really feel like it sabotages what you're doing. Today is kind of a longer video than I'd really like to make. It was going to be about 20 minutes, and I cut some clips out. At the end of my workout today, I've done some one-arm bar hangs, just to really practice engaging and disengaging my shoulders. And it wasn't really anything exciting to see, so I felt like I would, just pull that out. There were a few other things too that I hit, like several attempts on, and it was just the same thing over and over. So I figured I'd cut those out too. But I left in, all the interesting things. Getting things started out here with some one-arm pull-up training. Starting out with just a negative with the band on the low bar today. And I actually really like this. I normally try the high bar, and the high bar more so mimics, a full one-arm pull-up, but at the same time, the downside is it takes a lot more setup. Like you almost need like a step stool or a ladder or something in order to get a proper grip and to get set up, like you properly should be. Whereas with this low bar, I can literally just stand on my feet and just reach and grab the bar and get a proper grip, and then I can bend my legs to get more so at the bottom, or try to mimic getting at the bottom like you would be on a full-size bar or full height bar. These felt pretty good. Still really having trouble with that right shoulder. It's a lot less painful. It's a lot less irritated now, and it feels so much better. But from a performance standpoint, I almost feel like there's night and day comparison between my left arm and my right arm when I attempt some of this these one-sided exercises. These unilateral is the word I was trying to think of. I feel like there's night and day comparison between the different sides of my body, the left versus the right. And I'm a left-handed person, interestingly enough. And that, that could be a huge contributing factor as to why my left arm, has had, so much better circumstances than my right. Or it could just be coincidence. I could have done something wrong, repetitively over the time of my training that's led to my right shoulder giving me the fits it's giving me. But, we'll get to the bottom of it. We're just taking things slow, one day at a time, and we'll study what we're doing and get better from there. But this handstand press here today felt incredible. Like I felt very comfortable up there on top of those parallettes. Like that handstand felt very balanced, very strong. And I kind of lost my balance when I tried to transition back down, but being on top up there, I felt great. So much so that I just left it at one attempt for today, and I went straight into the planche training. I think some of the strategy I'm going to start bringing into the skill portion of my training, whether it be skill day or whether it be a strength training day. On strength training days, usually at the beginning of my workout, after I've warmed up and stuff, I usually like to do at least a bit of skill practice. And I think what I'm going to start doing, here's an advanced tuck planche. That's the first time I've tried that, and I felt like I've done pretty good. But I think something I'm going to start trying is I'm going to give each skill that I practice, I'm going to give it 2 attempts. And on the first attempt, I'm going to try the most difficult progression that I feel like I can I feel like I can give a reasonable attempt on. Something that's pretty realistic for me, but it's still the most difficult variation of that skill. And then on the second attempt, I think I'm going to use like that big red band you see there, or some other means to make the skill very easy, where I can hold it, like 10-20 seconds, no problem. Just something to to get my body, my mind muscle connection, get my body used to being in those positions. And even though the resistance level and the difficulty level will be so far down, I think that'll actually do a lot for me, because it's time under tension, and it's also teaching my body what those positions should feel like with no resistance, or little to no resistance. And you have to be able to do these skills, and you have to be able to hold these positions with no resistance if you ever, have any hope of doing it with resistance. But there is, what I was talking about in one of my previous videos on how to do handstands. That's why you learn how to do those rolls before you learn how to handstand, because like I said then, I'll say now, you will fall occasionally, and I promise you, you will learn how to fall before you learn how to handstand. So, you always got to have that in your back pocket, ready to go, because you will definitely lose your balance in your training, with your training for handstands. But anyways, getting into some human flag here. And this is kind of, still kind of warming up for this movement, with these hop-ups or kick-ups. I'm using momentum to help pull me up into sort of a human flag. This is also great for making sure my shoulders are engaged properly. That top hand needs to be pulling really hard, so that scapula needs to be retracted, whereas the bottom arm is pushing really hard, and that scapula needs to be protracted. And it's a very if you've never done that before, it's it's one you gotta take a few minutes to get the feel of before you try to put that much resistance on, where you put full body weight. I really like these little things that I just recently started training. I think I tried them on core day, my previous video, and they really seem to be helpful. And again, this band it looks like it's in my groin, but it's not in my groin. My right thigh is what's taking the pressure there. And then when I flip over to this other side, it'll be my left thigh that's taking the pressure. You got to take your time and carefully position the band, because if you don't, you're not going to have a good time, because that's a pretty strong band I got there. But it did seem like it really helped with this position. So you're able to hold some time under tension there. I think we're getting into the next attempt here. Yeah, able to get some time under tension on both sides. And, like I was talking about earlier, I think I really want to start turning down the intensity, I guess from a resistance standpoint on these skills that you see me do. And I think I want to turn up, the time under tension, just to, get my muscles, my body, and my connective tissues, and my brain as well, just to get everything used to how these positions should feel. Because I think that's really, really going to do a lot for myself, and I'm sure that'll also really do a lot for other people that are trying these things. Here I'm trying to slow muscle up, and this is an extraordinarily difficult exercise. I've tried this, several times over the years, and I have never quite been able to do it. I did get at one point in time where I could do a slow muscle up on the rings, but that's quite a bit easier than the bar, because on the rings, your body can just pass between the rings, whereas with the bar, you have to have enough strength to maneuver your body around the bar. It's kind of an obstacle, for you to get around. I think I got it pretty high there, and I was kind of starting to get into that transition a little bit. I might play with that some more in the future, but I still have so far to go on the slow bar muscle up, the slow ring muscle up as well, but definitely the slow bar muscle up. This attempt was a complete lost cause, but the attempt before that was actually pretty decent, in my opinion. I think in this next clip here, I have to prove to myself as well as everyone else, that I can actually do muscle ups. Busting out a set of 3 here. Regular muscle ups with momentum, even though those were kind of sloppy. Regular muscle ups with momentum are astronomically easier than a slow muscle up. It's something to keep in mind. Here I'm hitting some dragon flags. I don't usually train this skill. I think it is cool, and it is something I really need to put some time into. But I don't know. I don't really prioritize it. I guess because I know I can do it, and I instead want to spend my time, training things that I can't do. But just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should stop training it. Because you can always get better at it. Even if you feel like a master at something. Not saying that I feel like a master at dragon flags, of course, but I do think I give them a pretty good attempt. Here's some one-arm push-up training. I used to be able to rep these out on the floor, when I was about 185 pounds, and now I'm about 205, 210. And I just haven't trained these in a long time, and I'm having the shoulder issues as well, and a lot of things that I feel are not making me have the best performance with one-arm push-ups, but I figured I would try some incline on the bench there. But that was about the end of things. Like I said, there were a few clips I removed of me just doing some one-arm bar hangs. It wasn't anything, too interesting. So I just cut those out, and then here is after those clips. This is when I'm stretching out. I'm going to pull over, a little skin the cat action. Now I'm just stretching out, before I go back inside. And it is still, despite the sunball being up high, it's still astronomically cold, at least for me. Maybe I'm a bit of a baby, but I was freezing. My hands especially were freezing. That's one of the challenges of doing calisthenics outside, is you have to try to keep your hands warm. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and happy training.